my dear sisters and brothers of Sivananda Vedanta Center in Dalat, Vietnam.
Thank you.
It's an honor and privilege to be invited by first Alyssa Wostrell and then Swami Dharmananda for this presenting yoga therapy for disease prevention, the theme of this conference. Our primary presentation will be yoga therapy as a primary prevention, what in our modern medicine called a preventive medicine. Now, all of you are a long-term yoga practitioner. Now, you know that yoga is a philosophy. Yoga Sutra of Patanjali, 196 sutras, of which 193 is to quiet down your mind. Practice is called 8-limb practice, Patanjali Ashtanga Yoga, and it was designed for self-realization. But the people who are practicing yoga was found to have a lot of health benefits. These health benefits, we as a modern physician have taken as a incorporating in our modern medicine in a special branch called integrative medicine. Integrative medicine is the integration or building the bridges between the wisdom of the yoga therapy with the science of modern medicine. Today in United States, almost all the medical school has a department of integrative medicine. Over 65 of them has a training program. 25 of them has a special fellowship program leading to called board certification. Now, when you see the people who are practicing yoga, they develop two things. In Sanskrit, it's called Roger Chikitsha, which is called treatment of a disease. Remember, dis-ease, if you spell in English, D-I-S space E-A-S-E, when the E's become dis, you get a dis-ease. So the outcome of practicing yoga is a Roger Chikitsha, treatment of disease, then it's called a Shastharokha. That means maintenance of health. These health, when you do a regular practice of yoga, this health acts like in your computer world, is like a firewall for your computer. That means no disease will come to you, primarily the lifestyle-related disorder. And that is the fundamental principle of yoga for disease prevention. our experience is that if you continue a regular daily practice of yoga, there is a transformation. And the language of Sanskrit, where the yoga is written, is called the transformation from rogi. Rogi means people who have a disease, to nirogi. Nirogi means people now have no disease. Then transform into yogi or yogini. It means enjoying a disease-free, medication-free, a healthy life. So yoga as a therapy is called art of transformation. Today in West, this health is the number one element of our medical care. The word we use today is a new term which is integrated in Western medicine. It's called salutogenesis, which most of you probably have not heard. Salute in Latin means health, and genesis in Greek called creation, origin. Salutogenesis means creation of health. So the practice of yoga is going to create a health, and the health in also in Sanskrit is called shastho. And the origin of word shastho comes from sha. Sha means self, and sthir. Sthir is the stillness. Stillness of the self. What is a self? Our existence of self is in the body, mind, and spirit. So if you look at Yoga Sutra, Yoga Sutra tells us that the most powerful element of disease prevention called Sthiram Sukham Asanam. This is the Yoga Sutra. Sthiram means stillness. Sukham is the happiness. Asana is the poses or posture. So stillness of your body, mind, and spirit is the health. And also, if you look at as a computer metaphor, our body is like a hardware, our mind is like a software, and spirit is the programmer. Who is the programmer? I am the programmer. I program my mind, which is software. I remove all the bugs from my software so my hardware get fixed. So this is called Manomaya Kosha. In a 5-layer called Panchamaya Kosha, we call it a Manomaya Kosha. Mind is the root cause of all the chronic lifestyle related disorders. We as a Western trained physician or modern physician, we are treating the hardware. We are fixing a coronary arteries. We are fixing a joint to the joint replacement. We are doing a stent. We are doing a bypass surgery. But the root cause is in the mind. So for all of you to understand the difference between yoga and yoga therapy, which Alyssa will be explaining a little bit more. But just to simply put it together, that every practice of yoga, whether it is a sutra like Sthiram, Sukhamasanam, or the practices, 8-limb practice, we want all of your teachers to memorize in Sanskrit terms, Yam, social restraint, Niyam, personal restraint, Asana, it's a external and internal alignment. Pranayama, prana is a life source, yama is a control and restraint. Voluntary regulated breathing. Pratyahara, 5th limb. Pratta means reject. Ahar means your input. Our input is through 5 senses. We learn how to control our 5 senses. 6th limb is called your dharan, focus. 7th limb is a dhyan, meditation. 8th limb is a samadhi, which is union of your body, mind, and spirit. So in a yoga teacher's training practice, which is 200 hours, you are learning how to do a perfect asana, perfect pranayama, perfect meditation. You are learning in slowly, and 200 hours, you get a yoga teacher's training certification. But in a yoga therapy, the student now understands the therapeutic benefit of the asanas. We teach them. You don't master the asanas. You learn the asanas in stages to have the therapeutic benefit of this asana. And I'll show you and I'll explain to you. So understanding the therapeutic benefits of all the yoga practices, and then the adaptation of the yoga practices based on the patient's clinical condition is primarily becomes a yoga therapy. So what does it mean? To understand that, our yoga therapy training programs, 800 hours minimum, 1,000 hours, 1,500 hours. So when a person comes with your say physical problem, remember, you need to have a first a roger chikitsha, means treatment of disease. Then it's called a primary prevention, called preventive medicine. The treatment of disease is also called your secondary prevention and tertiary prevention. So how does that matter? Let me explain to you how yoga acts as a disease prevention, the theme of this conference. Give you an example. My parents have a lifestyle-related disorders. They have diabetes, hypertension, coronary artery disease. I am going to have my father's or mother's genetic changes. I'm going to have a diabetes, I'm going to have hypertension, I'm going to have a coronary artery disease. A regular practice of yoga, outcome is called a relaxation response and activation of parasympathetic tone. What does it mean? In our daily life, we're exposed to called sympathetic tone, which is called a stress. Stress is nothing but a high sympathetic tone, That means my heart rate goes high up, my blood pressure goes high up, my blood sugar goes high up. All of them causes this lifestyle related disorders. Yoga therapy primarily elicits parasympathetic tone, which is called calm and digest. Totally opposite. So what we have seen in our practice, the daily practice of yoga or daily routine practice of yoga also causes genetic suppression. Again, for your yoga therapy to understand, a genetic change. My father has a diabetes. I have a genetic change of diabetes. But that is not going to cause the disease. Disease is called when there is a genetic expression. That means when gene is going to express. A practice of yoga is going to cause what is called genetic suppression. It is going to suppress my genetic mutation, genetic transformation, so I do not get the disease what my parents used to have. Same way, my mother has a breast cancer. If I do exactly what my mother is going to do, I'm going to have breast cancer. But if I develop this relaxation response, this parasympathetic tone, I will have a genetic suppression and I'm going to prevent my breast cancer. Secondary prevention. Secondary prevention means now I have the disease. Now I have diabetes. Now I have a high blood pressure. Now I have a coronary artery disease. I have my breast cancer. You name it, genetic cancer. What to do? We as a modern physician, we treat called usual and customary practice. For breast cancer, we'll do surgery, chemotherapy, radiation. For heart disease, we'll do angioplasty, bypass. For diabetes, we'll give you the medication. We are going to control. That is called the controlling the disease first. Then we incorporate the yoga as a practice. What it does, it also causes the genetic suppression. So now you know a person who has a blockage in the artery in the heart, you get an angioplasty, opening it up, you get a bypass surgery, or for the breast cancer, you had all the treatment. But down the line, 5 years, 10 years down the line, disease comes back. If you practice yoga, that return of the disease is not going to come back. That is your secondary prevention. Tertiary prevention is called complication of a disease. I have diabetes. If the diabetes continues for a long time, I will develop diabetic kidney problem, diabetic eye problem called diabetic retinopathy, diabetic nephropathy. If you practice yoga, you are going to protect from the complication of the underlying disease. That's a tertiary protection. So in a primary prevention, what you will need, the way the theme of the conference is the prevention of the disease. Today, if you are a yoga teacher even, get a certified yoga teacher, and if you practice in a yoga studio, in any setup, whatever you have in Vietnam, most of the people will come to you with the underlying chronic medical condition. You're not going to have people coming and saying, hey, teach me a Trikonasana, triangle pose, or teach me a Sirsasana. They will be coming, I have a high blood pressure. My doctor asked me to come to see you. In United States today, every main medical centers, you can name it, MD Anderson Hospital, Cleveland Clinic, Sloan Kettering, Mass General Hospital, everyone has a department of yoga therapy today. So the way the disease prevention is, it's called a phenomena called neuroplasticity. What is a neuroplasticity? You start the practice where you are. A person comes to you, he can only sit down in your chair. Cannot even sit down in the ground. It's okay. Sit down in the chair. First component of yoga therapy is to keep your spine straight, called Merudanda Achal. Once you keep your spine straight, you start the relaxation response. So what is meant? My body, my skeleton is always going to fall in the front. All the muscles in the back are contracting, keeping me straight high up. These muscles are tight. I am in a tightness, in a stress, in a sympathetic mode. If I keep my back straight, sitting in a chair, or what I'm doing now, I'll show it to you, how I keep my back straight. Then it's called manasthir. Mana means mind, sthir means stillness. In yoga, mind is the content of your five senses. I see, I hear, I smell, I taste, and I touch. If you can quiet down the five senses, you're quieting down your mind. So for example, we as yoga practitioner, we always practice with your spine straight. Sit down in a chair, will be spine straight. I'm in the straight up, my whole body will be spine straight. And you start where you are. So if you see me, let me show you a very interesting thing. I sit down in a special chair. This is called your kneeling stool. So if you look at me, this is called a kneeling stool. In a kneeling stool, I will be sitting down with my knees here and my body is straight. Then my desk, my computer desk is motorized. So I'm going to change the height of the table exactly in my eye level to keeping my spine straight. So here is my keyboard, here is my computer. I'm sitting, I'm working whole day with my spine straight. I'm in a state of relaxation whole day. People ask me, how long do you do yoga? I say yoga do 24/7, and I'm doing all the time. Or if you have, say you have a chair. This is my yoga chair. If you have a special, not a special, any kind of chair. You sit down in a chair, you go back to the chair, keep your spine straight. You incorporate that. Next, what you do to have a yoga for disease prevention, or if you see, you can show you from the side. If you go all the way to the back, keep your spine straight, keep your feet down, your body is at the 90-degree angle. This is the beginning practice of yoga for your disease prevention. Next, what you do, you start in stages. What is the stages means that you are not going to push anybody to a perfect yoga asana or perfect pranayama or perfect meditation. Because this person may never heard even what yoga is. Why you are here? My doctor asked me to come. So here I am. I came to see you for my back pain. Okay, so I said, fine. You start a practice and listen to two things. Listen to your body signal. First is pain. There should be no pain during yoga practice. So for example, I'm here. I'm going to relax my back. So I'm going to teach the person the little spinal twist. So I said, okay, hold on to your chair, do a little bit of a twist. In a yoga therapy practice, there should be no pain. If you get a pain, I say back off. Find a place where you have no pain. Then you have a effortless breathing. Effortless breathing means it is a panchamaya kosha. Annamaya kosha to pranamaya kosha. That means physical body to your breath. If you do an imbalance in your physical body, it shows up in your breath. So I'm going to start my spinal twist and I'm going to follow my breath. My breath has to be effortless. Effortless breathing means I'm able to talk, I'm able to sing. If you have any effort, it is not a yoga therapy. Next, you're able to learn how to stay in this posture for a little extended period of time. What is extended period of time? Between 5 to 10 breaths. And yogic tradition, breathing out is longer than breathing in. So look at what is going to happen. Here I am, starting a spinal twist, or any name you can say, whatever asanas you do, but we're saying in a simple English, spinal twist. I stay here for my 5 breaths, generally with the eyes closed, and within a short time, you'll see you will be able to do a little bit more. How? Because you develop, we call it a habit. In medical term, it's called neuroplasticity. That's a perfect word. Neuroplasticity will set in and you will be able to do more. Slowly and slowly, you'll be able to do all the way to your back. Same phenomenon. If you have to do if you have acute back pain, so what you do is called supported forward bend. You don't do a forward bend, you do a back bend. But if you do a supported forward bend, you will be putting your body supporting, not to put your body down, supporting, and stay here. Stay here a little longer, neuroplasticity will set in, and what it will do, it will allow you to go a little bit more. Stay here. In stages, you'll go more. Slowly, you'll be able to touch all the way to the ground. You'll be able to bring your head coming to your knees. So what we call in stages, impossible become possible. I'm young, I am 39 and holding, but I've been practicing for who knows how long, 55, 60, anyway, doesn't matter. Age is a number, and my one is unlisted. So what happens? How do you get this disease prevention? In our brain, we have an area called motor cortex. Cortex controls our movement, motor and sensory. Beyond that is called our emotional brain. It is called the limbic system. I'm going to finish. What time do you have to put? Almost 40. Another 5-10 minutes, I'll leave some time. Should you a question now or later? I'm here until end. I'll take 10 more minutes.
That sounds good.
Okay. So when you do a practice of yoga, the area of the brain which gets activated is called limbic system. In the limbic system, you have two nuclei called amygdala and hippocampus. Amygdala responds to fear, and hippocampus responds to memory. So remember, the stress is a fear of unknown. What is a fear of unknown? I am here today. I'm going to take my child to the school. My fear is there may be a mass shooter in the school. I am going to fly the plane. My fear is whether the plane is going to be hijacked. I'm going to drive my car. This is called a fear of unknown, which is registered by amygdala. Amygdala and hippocampus then to create a called homeostasis. Homeostasis means our body's normal function. We call it a default mode network. Default mode means whatever you do to your body always brings it back where it came from. So it sends a signal through neurotransmitters. And there are 4 basic neurotransmitters which are effective in yoga practice. They're called a dose. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphin. This neurotransmitter then sends a signal to call hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is the area which causes this homeostasis. Hypothalamus then sends a signal to autonomic nervous system to convert the sympathetic nervous tone to parasympathetic nervous tone, called calm and digest. It also sends a signal to your pituitary gland. And there is an axis called pituitary adrenal axis. All the hormonal changes which causes our disease, which is called a primary from a hormone called a cortisol, the hormone imbalance gets checked, called altered hormonal homeostasis. So the pathway which you read, the book, will be called the psychoneuroendocrinology. Psycho means your limbic system, neuro means your hypothalamus, endocrinology means pituitary adrenal axis. And with that, you incorporate the relaxation response of the yoga with the conventional medicine, creating a state of preventing, called a primary prevention of your underlying chronic diseases. So if you see that I have this book, I have written this book, this is my book. The book is called Yoga Therapy, Ayurveda and Western Medicine, a Healthy Convergence. But if you look a little closer to your front cover, which is designed by my wife, there's a picture of Albert Einstein and called Tagore. Albert Einstein is a scientist and Tagore is a philosopher. So when you meet a science with philosophy, it is so in my book, there are 250 pictures, everyone is being described in your Western medical term as a primary prevention to have your disease prevention or preventive medicine. So coming back today, Alyssa also knows, and you will see, you will be hearing Sadbir Khalsa today, this afternoon. We'll be all talking about yoga therapy today is regarded as a preventive medicine, the primary prevention of underlying chronic diseases. And most important concept today for you to take home from this is that in a practice of yoga therapy, you listen to your client, listen to your patient. If they come with a respiratory problem, if they come with a asthma, COPD, pulmonary fibrosis, you start with a little relaxation response, then you start with a little bit of a pranayama practice, voluntary regulated breathing. If you come to your mental issues, if you come to a neuropsychiatric issue, you must start with a little meditation. And remember one thing, in a practice of meditation, you have to prepare your body and breath. I said, I'm sitting down, closing my eyes, I'm doing meditation. It's not going to work. Body has to be in a sthiram sukham asanam. Breath has to be effortless, so they don't interfere with your meditation. And remember, in yoga therapy practice, meditation is the medication. If you look at the two words, origin of the two words are the same. Both comes from the Latin word called your medera, health, medicos, called your physician. You know, difference between meditation has a T, medication has a C. So meditation is for transformation from rogi to nirogi to yogi, as I said, disease to no disease to healthy person. And medication is a choice. If you take your medication and get all the disease control, but a lot of complication. In my class, we all practice with a health tracker. This is called your, say, Apple Watch, or you can do a Fitbit. You can do it. So we will have our health tracker, and every poses you are doing, every pranayama, every meditation you are doing, you will be watching your heart rate, you'll be watching blood pressure. In fact, the way we do it, we'll recommend that I will go in a practice, I'll go ahead and get a EKG. I can get an EKG on my Apple Watch, and I can see what activity is going on. These monitors today are called a health tracker. So I'm going to finish, and before I finish, I can tell you one thing. Today, with our experience, we have a vast experience. And we said we have a new sutra. In Sanskrit, the sutra is called Karo Yog Raho Nirog. Karo means do, Yog means yoga, practice yoga, Raho means stay, Nirog means disease-free. If you practice a daily practice of yoga, this comes from a tradition of yogic tradition, which is, I have a big chapter in my book, it's called daily routine, dinocharya. If you do that, what we call in Western medicine, money back guarantee. Karo yog, raho nirog. Keep doing yoga, you will be disease-free, and you are going to prevent all the underlying chronic diseases as a primary prevention, as a preventive medicine. Thank you again for giving me the privilege to present our experience to you. And then Alyssa will start and presenting her experience with IAYT, International Association of Yoga Therapists. And as Alyssa is saying, I'm here. It is not too late. It's only almost 10 o'clock in my East time. I'll be here until the finishing of our presentation. We'll be here to answer any questions. Alyssa, all yours now.
Thank you, Swami Sita. Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Dilip Sarkar. That was just fascinating. And okay, Dilip is off the screen. Okay. It was just fascinating. And I always learn so much from hearing Dilip Sarkar speak, whether in a casual conversation or in a formal environment like a conference. Dr. Sarkar is such a wealth of knowledge and presents in such a unique way the concepts of yoga therapy and the intersection of East meets West and the best of both, as expressed in integrative medicine, but with the umbrella of yoga therapy. It's very cutting edge, and the promise of what yoga therapy offers in terms of whole health is so significant to the incredibly heavy chronic disease burden that globally so many people suffer from. So I thank you, Dr. Sarkar, for joining me today. And I'm so grateful that you could do so. And after I do, I'm going to do a PowerPoint in a little bit and tell you a little bit about the International Association of Yoga Therapists and the kind of education context that might be of interest to you in respect to the advancement of the profession. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll have time for questions, I hope, toward the end. I'd like to thank again Swami Sita and Swami Dharma and the entire team for the invitation to speak to you all today. It is an honor and a privilege. And I'd like to thank my predecessor, John Kepner, who was the executive director of IAYT for 17 years. I've only been with the organization for just over 2 years, 2.5 years. And many of you might know John Kepner for his very long service, dedicated service to advance the profession and help build the infrastructure, some of which I'm going to share to you, to help this emerging profession take root throughout the world, to impact health and bring positive change. So thank you to John Kepner. Okay, so I think I'm going to go ahead and start my PowerPoint. So I'm going to do my screen share. Hang on one sec. Okay. Okay. Can you see this okay, Dilip? Yes. Okay, I'm going to start the actual PowerPoint. Okay.
Yeah, we see fine, Alyssa. No problem.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. As we all know, the extraordinary times that we've lived through together over the past 2.5 years or so is where we are now, and coming out of this worldwide disruption of the pandemic. As I joined IAYT in this new role for me of the executive director position, COVID was just starting to spread its tentacles throughout the country, throughout United States, and throughout the world. And I like to sort of just ground us a little bit in the reality of these ripple effects that are continuing throughout our lives, professionally, personally. The impact of the pandemic does continue. I'm so proud of the way that the team at IAYT and our entire membership, all of our accredited program directors, all of our members themselves, we have over 5,300 members, the way we handled our conferencing and our publications and all that we do was really remarkable, given the stress of our time. I'll speak a little bit about some of the strategic initiatives that we're involved in, but mainly I'd like to just give you some context for those of you who are not yet familiar with what IAYT does internationally. I'd like to give you some more information in that respect. So who is IAYT? We are a nonprofit professional organization founded in 1989. Oh gosh, sorry. As I mentioned, 5,300 members. About 3,300 of those members have the certification, the CIAYT, of yoga therapy. Our mission is to establish yoga as a recognized, respected therapy. And we are, our focus is on competency-based educational standards, as well as a very rigorous accreditation process for training programs. We have about 70 now accredited programs and 170 member schools worldwide. Just a tiny microcosm of how much interest there is in yoga writ large around the world, in the United States, in other countries, and what yoga therapy can bring to the world. Here's just a slide that shows our member schools by country. You can see that we have the majority of schools in the United States, Canada, and in Australia. In Asia, in aggregate, we have a handful of schools. You can see throughout Europe. So 170 member schools or so is what this slide is showing you, and lots of room to grow. Okay, so just need to move something out of the way here on my screen. Okay, so all yoga is potentially therapeutic. Our yoga therapy specifically applies yogic tools. As Dr. Sarkar shared with us, the postures, the breathwork, meditation, and more, and of course, to address individuals' needs physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I'm going to read for you here. It's not going to be on the screen, but I'm going to read for you a case study of a certified yoga therapist who shared when she was going through what was a grandparenting process early on in our accreditation and certification processes. Because remember, this is a very nascent profession, and not so long ago, we were just starting our certification and accreditation functions. So I'm going to read this to you. It's a case study that is one example of the impact of yoga therapy in an individual's life, in this case, the life of a child. The patient's name or the client's name is Adam. So Adam was in the 5th grade when his parents asked if I, the yoga therapist, would work with him. We had consistent weekly yoga therapy sessions during summer months and during the school year. Adam was diagnosed with severe autism at 3 years old. As a 5th grader, he was becoming easily agitated and physically unmanageable by his mother and siblings. He was even more unmanageable in school. Adam is cognitively impaired and will not be able to live on his own. He has age-appropriate physical abilities, but needs regular prompting to engage, act, and respond. Adam became unable to regulate his emotions with the onset of puberty. Yoga therapy for Adam included restorative yoga in a very relaxing environment. I used creative breathing cues to get Adam to participate in pranayama. Working from Adam's favorite yoga pose, Adho Mukha Savasana, I created a vinyasa that he eagerly participated in along with pranayama. 99% of Adam's sessions ended in Savasana with great results. There were a few sessions when he did not want to participate in Savasana. Adam was never forced to do any part of a yoga therapy session that he did not want to participate. Looking back at my documentations, Adam progressed steadily. Some sessions were more productive than others. Most of his sessions went well and ended well. The best results were reported from his parents of his ability to moderate himself at school, home, and in new settings. As Adam grew into a fine young man, he was able to maintain an assisted employment program for special needs young adults. In 2016, his mother reported that he still does parts of the vinyasa I taught him. And when he needs a rest during the day, he refers to his yoga nap. His parents expressed gratitude for helping their son through public school and into adulthood without medications. There's so many cases like that that are recorded that illustrate the power of yoga therapy to help with self-regulation. And I think as the public and also the scientific community, kind of writ large, understands the power of the self-regulation piece that Dr. Sarkar was taking us through step by step through the processes of the brain and the nervous system. These cases, will start to become something that more and more individuals, both in the medical community and in the public, can see that the promise of what yoga therapy has to offer, both as prevention and also to calm and digest. I mean, we live in a world, not only the disruption that we've, lived through and are coming out of from COVID-19, and long COVID, but the chronic disease burden, of course, which is enormous. So the need is huge, right? And that one little case study, that young person suffering from autism, his family trying to give the best support that they could, found their way to a certified yoga therapist. And over a period of time, this young person learned to self-regulate and his nervous system with really incredible outcomes. So yoga itself offers tools that touch on the whole spectrum of human experience, as evidenced by that case study. And I'm sure many of you have similar experiences, perhaps yourself, transformation that you have experienced and or witnessed or helped someone else engage in for the better. So on our website is www.iayt.org, and we also have yogatherapy.health. We have two different sites. Our professional site is IAYT.org, and I know many of you who are part of the audience are already familiar with our websites, so thank you for your patience as I orient all the other individuals here who are not as familiar with what we have to offer. So I welcome you to come to IAYT.org. I like this slide here about yoga therapy being sort of cocooned in this larger universe of yoga. So we have this big encompassing, circle of yoga, and then this core piece of yoga therapy. And it's helpful for me to think about that as we consider the impact of what yoga therapy is in its professional application, which is written here that it is in fact the professional application of the principles and practices of yoga to promote health and well-being within a therapeutic relationship that includes personalized assessment, goal setting, lifestyle management, and yoga practices, whether for individuals or small groups. Dr. Sarkar, can you give me a time check? How much time do we have? I can't hear. Come back.
It's a 10:05. Give 35 more minutes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Finish around 40, 45, so 15 minutes to question and answer.
Okay, so again, the therapeutic relationship is the core piece of our definition currently. And I have a few more slides that kind of give some more context around what yoga therapy could be defined as. This is from Gary Kraftstow. Clients are not coming. I'm not sure where that's coming from. That's not coming from my computer though. Okay. All right, it sounds like it's muted. Thank you. Clients are usually not coming to learn yoga, but to get help with or relief from a symptom, health condition that is troubling them. And so the instruction can focus on their condition, how the yoga techniques can help them feel better, rather than on the techniques or methods of yoga practice. I think that's helpful to think about the obviously the focus on the person coming for assistance about their condition and how can we bring yoga techniques forward to help them improve their function. So a little bit of a differential here between a yoga teacher, let's say a 200-hour registered yoga teacher, who, for example, would be trained in yoga philosophy and foundations, in basic anatomy and physiology, and in practice with teaching or assisting a teacher. And then a yoga therapist would continue on from the 200 level. You can see on the how the check marks continue to add psychology, additional biomedicine, adaptation of yoga tools to individual needs, in-depth anatomy and pathophysiology, and then an extensive clinical practicum. So as Swami Sita and Dr. Sarkar mentioned, the credential that is conferred by IAYT, which is the acronym CIAYT, for students who have graduated from accredited programs, requires 800 to 1,000 hours of study. So usually at least 2 years. Skip that one. So As Dr. Sarkar has noted, and I will just echo, the opportunity of yoga therapy is quite vast in terms of how it can address a range of concerns or conditions. These are some examples under the buckets of chronic pain, neurological issues, mental health, healthy aging, and illness support, and in the mode of moving toward, out of illness and into prevention. And I just loved how Dr. Sarkar gave us examples of primary, secondary, and tertiary perspectives on the impact of yoga and yoga therapeutic practices. So this is another slide that gives you an idea of the differing focus between a yoga teacher and a yoga therapy session itself. So whereas in a yoga class, you would be receiving instruction in technique. In a yoga therapy session, there would be an individual assessment. This is very specific to the scope of practice for a yoga therapist. An individual assessment is required, and there's a formal intake process, which the yoga therapist is trained on. Whereas if you are in a yoga class, general practice, often fitness oriented, and in a yoga therapy session, the focus is on addressing the specific concerns of the client. The practices themselves, pranayama, asana, meditation, are tailored to the client's goals. What matters to them? Not what is the matter with you, right? What matters to you? And then shaping the next steps around that. In a yoga class, limited individual adaptations, whereas in a session of yoga therapy, the individual leaves with the takeaway is around empowerment related to self-healing, which is an incredible gift and hard to come by in today's culture. To be empowered to self-heal, so you can move outside of the medical model where you are told to perform, take something, subscribe to a certain belief system, take a certain medication, what have you, and you are abdicating really so much of your own self in the process. In a yoga therapy session, the focus is on empowering the individual to have an experience that includes self-healing. And then in a yoga class, you have community practice. In a yoga therapy session, you have this therapeutic relationship that develops, that from the very beginning, seeds are being planted to blossom around this therapeutic relationship and what's available through that, whether that's one-on-one or in a group. Okay. So in the process of yoga therapy addressing a range of concerns, the focus and the goal, as Dr. Sarkar also shared with us, is to salutogenesis, or overall well-being, which is an incredible gift in our modern society. No matter where we are on the planet, with the impacts of the stressors of our day, whether it's pandemic, climate change, socio-political challenges, economic stressors, addiction, substance abuse, chronic disease, et cetera, to have a pathway toward a focus on overall well-being, again, very, very substantive difference in looking at one's health or what's available, in terms of living our life from a perspective of overall well-being as a goal. So I think that Dr. Sarkar really spoke very elegantly about the interconnection of the human system, and how a tool used in one area can affect another or affects all others, and this beautiful interconnected web. Dr. Sarkar mentioned the mind as our software, the body as the hardware, and the physicians treating the hardware, and the spirit as the eye and the programmer. Just the multidimensional interconnected web of our own being, our own mind, and the interconnectivity, of course, that we share with others in the planet, if we want to take it to that place as well. So the biopsychosocial spiritual methodology. This is where we are at. This is how yoga therapy works in terms of context. This is what whole health in terms of integrative medicine is moving toward. And this physical connected to mental, emotional, to energetic and spiritual dimensions. That in terms of yoga therapy within this model, biopsychosocial spiritual, the stretching and strengthening of the skeletal, the frame, the musculoskeletal, leading to sort of this cascade around changed neurological processing, and then to the energetic or spiritual piece of nervous system regulation. This beautiful cascade, which strengthens the more it's, we create a habit, as Dr. Sarkar mentioned. The grooves of the brain and the nervous system are strengthened with repetition. So this is a slide about research. I know Dr. Sarkar Khalsa, who is our scientific coordinator of one of our conferences. We do 2 conferences per year at IAYT. One is our annual membership conference, and it's coming up, called SITAR. It's in June. We're doing an in-person conference this year in Reston, Virginia. And Dr. Khalsa is scientific coordinator of our Symposium on Yoga Research, which is held at a yoga retreat center called Kripalu in Western Massachusetts annually. And so you'll hear more from Dr. Khalsa about this. Specifically, this slide is indicating the growing evidence base around research, which of course is so critical. Data speaks volumes, and so the more data in the way that it can be understood as presented to the scientific community, the further we will be able to make inroads into the systems of healthcare to help impact more people who are suffering. So as I mentioned before, yogatherapy.health is our second website. This is more of our consumer or public-facing website. It's totally separate from our professional website, IAYT.org. And so for individuals who are interested in, helping, if someone wanted to find a yoga therapist, a family member, what have you, yogatherapy.health is one place to go. Okay, so I have a bunch more slides on sort of more strategic perspectives on what IAYT is working on to advance the profession. I'm probably not going to spend a whole bunch of time here because I'd like to save a little bit for questions that might come forward or comments. Would love to hear from any of you who would like to share your thoughts. So I will just, if you have an interest in knowing more about the strategic work to advance the profession of yoga therapy, our strategic plan 21 to 24 is available at the IAYT.org site under the About section. So just click on that and you will be able to go to the PDF of our strategic plan. We're doing some really important work in the United States and throughout in our network. of our accredited programs and member schools throughout the world, we are focusing on these 4 priorities. And more detail is available on the site. So I'm not going to go into these other slides, and instead I'm going to conclude my presentation now and offer some time for us to connect in real conversation if that's of interest. And would like to thank you all again for listening to me and having me here today. It is my pleasure and honor. Thank you. So let me look on chat.
Yeah, I looked at it. There is a lot of in Vietnamese, so somebody has to interpret those.
Okay.
And I see some comments about whatever I presented, like in stages, impossible become possible, thanking. But somebody can read those Vietnamese questions or comments. Will appreciate.
Yeah, they all say thank you. They don't have any question.
We have plenty of time left. We have almost half an hour to 35 minutes. So Alyssa has cut it down. You see 239 people have joined. Very nice. So Alyssa, what do you want to do? I can show you some practices, how to do the, yoga therapy as a preventive practice. What do you think, Sitaji? Is there any question?
There is a question. Do yoga therapists co-work with psychologists, and how? And then somebody say, when I can buy the stool. What is the stool that Dr. Dilip is having?
What is she asking? What is the tool?
The stool, you show the sitting pose on the stool, and she want to buy your stool.
The stool. Okay, that's good. It is, the stool is called a kneeling. K like a K, kneeling, like knee like a knee, KNEELING, kneeling stool. And I don't know where you buy in Vietnam, but rest of the world you buy from a place called Amazon.com. You know what that is? Amazon.com, you'll get it. And it's called a kneeling stool. And I have it for years and years, years and years means I have it for almost 25 years. This is my 4th one. But for a practitioner, what we see today, the most hurt you do by a hunchback. Say, if you see a person 80, 90, 100 years, you will always see they're straight, their spine is straight. The moment you get a hunchback, only answer is you're going to die. So if you want to practice, like most of your practitioners, and I think we lost Alyssa for, anyway, she's going to join, and it's a very important to keep your spine straight. I'm sitting here, what we see, the people who have the chronic lifestyle related disorders are the computer people, IT people. Why? They're hunchback, they're looking at the screen like this. So what we teach them, what we teach them is to learn how to prepare their body and mind. So let me show it to you, one practice, very simple practice. And if you're doing it, you may even like to do it with me. Maybe you can put me on a, okay, can you see me? I don't see. Let's see. No, you have to do it probably. Anyway, can you all see me? I cannot see it well from my side. Okay, let me see. Okay, let me. Okay, you see me? Okay, yes, I see me now very well. So let me show you what I'm talking about, how a yoga practice is a preventive disease. First, when you are standing, you learn how to stand with your spine straight. So the way you'll be doing it, wake up in the morning. First thing in the morning we get up from the bed and we sit down. It's called the squatting pose. Participant enable. Okay, let me close this one. Okay. So you get up in the morning, you will be able to sit down in a squatting pose, like this, called a malasana. When you're able to sit down like this, you separate your fingers in the hand. This is called the relaxation of your hand. Relaxation, your hand gets relaxed when you put your thumb inside and close. This is called Adhi Mudra. Wrist gets relaxed when you put an extension in the wrist. Then you put your one elbow inside, put the other elbow inside, bring it slowly close to you, keep your spine straight, close your eyes, and breathe in and out. This is, we call it a preventive medicine. If you are able to do this in a daily practice, believe me, no disease will come close to you. This is called an effortless ease. From here, what we do, from here, we get up without a support. So if you're practicing with me, you can able to do it, able to sit down without any effort and able to get up without any effort. Next, to be a more sign of health, we have done all the studies. It is called the sit-rise test from the ground. Like you sit down in the ground, all the way down. Cross your feet. Look at me. Very important. This is called sign of health. This is called yoga for disease prevention. How to prevent disease from yoga. From here, you learn how to get up. You'll be able to get up without a support. If you try it, you will see what a wonderful practice it is. You sit down all the way down into the ground and able to get up without a support. When you get up, go to the wall, put your ankle in the back, put your body and the head in the same line, straight. Get your body way high up. Close your eyes breathing out longer than breathing in. We call it it is a guaranteed. Is Alyssa joined? Not yet. Okay.
I'm here.
So, oh, you're here? Okay.
Yeah, I'm back.
Since
I
you have
lost
some
the
time,
signal.
I'm sure.
No, I'm
Okay,
glad you're doing that. Yeah.
No, I'm showing them what is called yoga for disease prevention.
Great.
Next practice is a relaxation response. Your hand get relaxed. If you look at a baby, babies are all relaxed. Baby will close their hand to put a thumb inside and close. This is called a baby fist. So if you have any pain, if you have any tightness, practice. In fact, practice with your breathing. Breathe out first. Take a deep breath in. Breathe out and close your hand like this. Breathe in. Breathe out. Wrist gets relaxed with an extension. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Another issue is in our body is our posture. Your hunchback, that is a sign of ill health. So sign of good health is called a prayer pose to the back. It's called a Paschim Namaskar. See, breathing is the most important, but breathing will come when your body is relaxed. So if you look at, let me put it in the back so you're able to see me. Everybody wants this stool, huh? You want to see the stool again? This is the stool. It is called a kneeling stool. All of you should have it. It's a wonderful, wonderful tool. So, slowly what you'll do, you'll go ahead and put your hand to the back. Remember, no pain. If you get a pain here, you separate. Try to find a spot where you have no pain. Can you see me? Here it is. Okay. Find a spot where there will be no pain. So you have a hand here. Then again, what Alyssa was saying and I'm saying is that habit forming, neuroplasticity. If you practice with the no pain, effortless breathing, slowly you'll be able to do this. Prayer pose. Stay here. Close your eyes. Breathe out longer than breathing in. Count of 2 in, count of 4 out. Slowly you will see this thing will happen. Slowly and slowly your hand will go all the way high up. And you will be staying in a posture or asanas, which is called your Sthiram Sukham Asanam. Stillness, happiness in an asana practice. So look at here me. I will be sitting down here. I'm in front of my computer and I'm in a most comfortable your relaxation mode. How do I know? I have a saliva in my mouth. My mouth is wet. I've been talking to you for hours. I've not drinking a single water. When you have saliva in your mouth, it is called parasympathetic activation. All the glands, remember the word called come and digest. Digest means from your mouth to all the way down to your whole gastrointestinal tract is supplied by parasympathetic nerve. So the saliva which comes in your mouth, it's a parasympathetic activation. Dry mouth is your sympathetic. I can see, I can feel, whole my mouth is full of saliva. And I'm here, our time is almost 10:35 at night. I'm sitting in front of my computer with my hands to the back, which is called prayer pose. So what happens here, initially, all the muscle contracts. It all tightens up. But muscle cannot stay contracted for too long. Muscle will start relaxing. This relaxation is called fasciculation. So it will start twitching. So you will see when you do maybe a boat pose called Naukasana, or if you do this prayer pose to the back, Paschim Namaskar. But slowly and slowly you will develop a profound relaxation response. You will have a saliva in your mouth. You will be able to do any asanas when you are healthy, because you are not practicing, yoga is coming to you. So people ask me, I'm exercising. Why do I need to yoga? In an exercise, it is called a sympathetic response. That means if you're running, walking, or you're doing a weight training, you're a treadmill, your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up, your respiratory rate goes up. It is called sympathetic overdrive. Then body, as they call homeostasis. Homeostasis means put the whole body in where it came from, called default mode network. Body starts a parasympathetic activation. My heart rate drops down, my blood pressure drops down, and this is the effect of exercise. Sympathetic overdrive followed by parasympathetic activation. So what happens in the sympathetic overdrive, we'll get some crisis or catastrophe, like people are doing a very heavy weight training. They might develop a heart attack. Or people riding a marathon. At the end of the marathon, you'll have somebody even might have a chest pain and will drop dead. But yoga therapy is primarily a parasympathetic activation without any sympathetic component. And it is in stages. All the things I can do, I could not do anything. But now you can name an asana, I can do it. Why? Because of the underlying relaxation response and parasympathetic activation. So able to keep your body relaxed, able to get up from floor without any support, able to breathe effortlessly. People say, I need to do pranayama. I need to do Bastrika pranayama. I need to do Kapalbhati pranayama. I need to do Anulom Vilom. I need to do Brahmari. I need to do the Ujjayi. Nothing. Lung is like a balloon. It has 6-liter capacity. It needs 1.5 liter to stay open. You have 4.5 liters which you can exchange. Normally you are exchanging only half a liter, 500 cc. So you learn how to breathe out first, exhalation. Then you breathe in and breathe out longer than breathing in. Slowly and slowly again, that neuroplasticity will set in. More and more, you'll get more developed. So today you can say count of 2 in, count of 4 out. In a few weeks, you'll be able to do count of 3 in, count of 6 out, count of 4 in, count of 8 out. We have been doing so long, we can do count of 8 in, count of 16 out, very effortlessly. And that gives you a function of your lung. Heart and lung is the same organ. If you improve your lung function, your heart function gets better. And simply stating, before I see any sub questions or you have any, simply way of stating, if you look at a person who is dying, first called expired, that means last breath comes out, lung stops, then the heart stops, then the brain stops, then all the cellular function stops, and the person is dead. So if you improve your lung function, what happens? Excuse me. Your heart gets better. The heart gets better, your brain gets better. The brain gets better, your cellular function gets better. So a person who has a diabetes, who has a pancreas beta cell, is not producing enough insulin, beta cell dysfunction. If you improve your breathing technique, you improve your beta cell function. So pranayama, we call it Kapalbhati pranayama, which you push your abdomen belly inside. We got a primary therapy for our diabetic patient. Hypertension is a tightness of the blood vessel, relaxation of the blood vessel, called peripheral resistance. And if you have any healthcare provider, you will understand what I'm talking about. It's called a afterload. Peripheral resistance will be down, your blood pressure will come down. So you will be doing all these practices, and we call it a money back guarantee, yoga for disease prevention. And let's see if you have any more. What are the questions you have here? Who is reading the questions? Alyssa, are you reading them, or?
I can read them,
Alyssa
sure.
here?
Yes.
Can you see, if there are any question for you or me, we still have about 15 more minutes.
Yes.
We can,
Yes.
let's see.
Here is a question about the question is, how do I know that myself or someone is suitable both mentally and physically to join to a yoga therapy 800-hour program?
The first 800-hour program, you are entering into a state of called yoga therapist. What we recommend that you at least get the 200 hours yoga certification first. Once you get the yoga certification, maybe when you practice a little bit for a while, either as a teacher or your own self-practice, see if you have developed any interest in therapeutic benefit of yoga. Example is comparing you to a called a physical therapist. If you say physical therapist, they also come from the same training and background. So once you understand that the whole practice of yoga today is going to be therapeutic, because the word is out. If you go to a scientific presentation, like this afternoon, you will have our yoga therapy researcher, Sadbir Khalsa. I think he's presenting at 4 p.m., 4 to 5:30 p.m. today. And you will see that the whole research, or if you go to a site called your PubMed. PubMed is a site. If you put a yoga therapy, over 7,000 articles will come up. So what I'm trying to say, the word is out that yoga is an effective therapeutic modality. So for you to understand that you can be a part of the healthcare provider, you are welcome to the 800 to 1,000 to 1,500 hours training session. And believe me or not, once you are in the training session, as Alyssa said, about almost over 2 years, you will be exposed to so much of clinical material that you will be comfortable and confident to handle any client, any patient, any person. One most important underlying condition is yoga today is that we call it a 99% practice and 1% theory. That means you need to also practice. So I teach physicians, me and actually Sadbir, we teach a course called Continuing Medical Education for Healthcare Providers. We've been doing it since 2010, twice a year. But with the pandemic, everything got disrupted, and we have not really able to put it together after pandemic. But we've been doing it 2010. So what happens there? A physician will come, yoga therapist will come, say, I want to be yoga therapist. I want to use yoga in my medical practice. How to do it? How should I start? Answer is very simple. Why don't you start doing yourself first? So you as a yoga practitioner, you as a certified yoga teacher, keep on practicing. We recommend daily, with a daily routine called Dinacharya. Then you will know whether you are in a position to accept this 800 hours or 1,000 hours training for yoga therapy. Remember, it's a rigorous training. It is not that as simple as Alyssa was showing you, what you have to, all the check marks what you have to go through. So again, answer to you, also what Alyssa said, that this is a self-realization practice. Self is I. You are the programmer. I am the cause. I am the cure. Once you look at yourself, you'll be able to know that you are ready for this training. Hope I answered. How you could train.
Yeah, very
Okay, what
good.
more? Any more questions here?
There is another question I want to put forward to you. So
Okay.
this is about pain.
Mhm.
Dr. Dilip said there should be no pain in practice, but with people with chronic pain, they are always in pain. So what is the normal pain level for them to practice asana? There are many kinds of pain, like sharp pain, pain causing numbness, or pain coming with stretching the muscle. It can be painful but enjoyable at the same time. So they should stop whenever pain happens.
Okay. So answer is very simple. So listen to it. Pain. P-A-I-N. The word pain comes from the word called pay attention. Pain is coming because your body is telling you there is underlying condition. You need to pay attention. So come from a very common pain, chronic low back pain. They will come to you to chronic low back pain. Chronic low back pain is coming because you have a herniated disc, you have a spinal stenosis, you have a compression of a nerve. But remember, pain is coming because of the tightness of the muscles. It's called a muscle contraction. Remember, the cartilage, the covering, even the bone doesn't have any much pain fiber. Even a bone marrow has all the pain fibers are called in the ligaments and the muscles. So now you're saying that when do you start and do it a painless practice? First, if you go to a physician for a chronic low back pain, if they give you a pain medication, it does not work. What works is called a muscle relaxant. When muscle gets relaxed, the pain will be relieved. Now, first requirement for a yoga therapist to start a practice of asana for pain, because pain is a tightness, not to have a pain medication before the practice. You don't want that person to take a, whatever in Vietnam, but here called a Motrin, Aleve, the pain relieving substances, because you're going to do more harm, more hurting, because pain is a protection. So what you will do, wherever you have pain, so you have a pain in the hand, continuous pain in your hand, low-grade pain, you slowly put your hand in a hand relaxation. So slowly you put your thumb in. Then what you do, you incorporate your breath. Your breath, remember, it is a pure, simple chemistry. It is called aerobic glycolysis. What is aerobic glycolysis means? Our end product of food is called glucose. Glucose combines with oxygen, forms carbon dioxide, water, and called ATP. ATP is the energy, adenosine triphosphate. If you don't have enough oxygen, glucose combines with low oxygen, forms lactic acid, pyruvic acid, pain-producing substances. So pain comes when you have a less oxygen in your system. So here you are, you come up to here, close your eyes, breathe out first, slowly take a deep breath in, and breathe out longer than breathing in. You go a little farther, it hurts you more, so back off. Eventually you'll be able to do it, but you don't want that patient to have a pain medication on the board, because if a pain medication, this protection will go away. Same way you have a back pain. You have a back pain, you cannot move, cannot turn, you do call a supportive relaxation. Relax your back, take your head, it's my table, you can put your head in the table. I don't know if you can see it from there, but you can put your head in the table. Let's see if you can see here, or you can, let's see, here. You can slowly put your head here. Let your hand relax. Close your eyes. Breathe out longer than breathing in. Slowly and slowly you will feel, instead of 2 stones, 2 pieces of pillow sitting here. So answering to your question, person comes with a chronic pain, they're always taking a medication. So why they come to you? They will come to you for only one condition. And you know what the condition is? I'm tired of taking this medication. I take the medication, my stomach hurts. Take the medication, I have a bleeding in my, I have a complication from this medication. I want to get rid of the medication. In my class, I got a lot of doctors comes to my class. You know, first thing they come for? I want to get rid of my medication. If you are healthy, like for me, I had open heart surgery 22 years back, 2001. Today, I don't take a single medication. I'm a disease-free, medication-free, enjoying a good quality life because I have a transformation from rogi to nirogi to yogi. And I go for a checkup every year. My doctors will check up and do my heart. He said, you look perfect. So again, answering to your question, a chronic pain is not going to resist you to start the practice, but you should learn how to go slowly, one step at a time. That's what Alyssa was mentioning. I don't know if you catch it, that even in many yoga therapy centers, it is 1-to-1.
Yes.
There is a very famous center in India called KYM, Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram. It is in Chennai, very famous center. Actually, Krishnamacharya was the father of our modern yoga. There are 30 rooms for yoga therapies. They see one person at a time, one yoga therapist with one client or one patient. So please start with the chronic pain. You are not going to be disappointed if you start what I mentioned to you and somebody wrote it down. In stages, impossible become possible. This is the famous quote called Desikachar. Desikachar was the son of Krishnamacharya.